Good morning, children. Today we are going to start with the third type of class, that is class reptiles. We have already studied about the first one, that is the Pisces or the fish. The second class, that is the amphibians, and now we are going to study about the reptiles. Well, here students, I would love to mention one thing, that this reptiles is basically the class which falls in between. And if you see in either two sides, the first we have the fish, then amphibians, okay, and then in between the reptiles, and after that we have apes and mammals. It's mammals. So that means you would find certain characters of this class reptile resembling either sides. Okay, that means they have few characters that resemble fish, amphibian on one hand. So at the same time, in the another hand, certain characters of these resembles ape and mammals too. Okay. You may say that they lie at the transitional position, so that you will study in the higher classes in detail. So next thing, one of the very important thing is that for an example I can give, that I can mention over here, is that in this picture which is given there in the slide, you may see that there are scales in the body of this organism, and these scales somewhat resembles the fish, the scales which are present there in the fish. Not exactly the same thing, but yeah, the scales are similar somewhat to the fish. Okay, but in these cases, in case of reptiles, scales are quite harder and more pointed, and they help them to keep safe themselves from the predators. There is one more important function of these scales we'll discuss in the next slide, where we are discussing about the major characteristics of this class. Okay, first of all, the class reptile has been taken from a Latin term reptilis. Okay, reptilis, which means to crawl, and this name of the class would suggest one thing, that the members of this class, they crawl. Yes, they do crawl, but not all the members. Some of them, they have the feet to move, okay, for their locomotion, but some, they crawl. Okay, since they have scales under the body surface, these scales help them to be in contact with the ground to control the friction of the body and the ground. Okay, and this helps them to move swiftly and softly. If you see the snake, if you have ever seen a snake crawling, how do they crawl? The scales which are present in the body, it helps them to crawl and maintain or control the friction of their body with the ground. Next thing, you would find them both in aquatic condition and in terrestrial condition as well. Okay, like there are certain snakes, you'll find them inside the water, I mean on the crawling on the water surface, while some you will find crawling on the land. Okay, completely those who are in land. Next thing, they do not have gills. I would again repeat this point, that they do not have gills, they have lungs to breathe in. So this is where the difference comes, or the transition happens. Okay, in case of fish, what you saw, they have gills. In case of amphibians, what you saw is that at a certain till a certain time period they have gills, but later on they develop with the lungs. But from transition from amphibians to reptile, if you come now, that gill thing completely disappears. None of the members, they do possess gills. In case of reptiles, they have lungs to breathe. Got it? Next thing is that reptiles, they have limbs to walk and swim. Like for example, lizard, crocodiles and turtles, you will find their limbs with which they can walk on the land. Next thing about is snake, they have scales to crawl along the ground. They have strong and flexible muscles to crawl to swim swiftly, because you will see their change in the body movement and the position which happens because of these strong flexible muscles. And next thing, they lay eggs. Almost all the reptiles, they lay eggs and give birth to, and some of them they give birth to the young ones. And they are, I'm sorry, the spelling is wrong. They are cold-blooded. Okay, they are cold-blooded. It means that they can adjust their body temperature according to the temperature of their surrounding. I repeat, being cold-blooded means the organism can change their body temperature according to the temperature of their surrounding. Okay, so till here, from fish, amphibian and reptile, they were cold-blooded. Okay, and next that we are going to start is with the aves. That means the class including the birds. From there we are going to have the warm-blooded animals or the warm-blooded members. What is the difference between being cold-blooded and warm-blooded? Cold-blooded means that the organism can change or regulate the body temperature according to the temperature of the surroundings. Okay, but in case of warm-blooded like us, we cannot regulate our body temperature. Okay, we have a particular fixed body temperature and we cannot regulate it according to our surrounding. Okay, well, again I have previously, as I've told you, I would say one more important function of the scale is that, see students, what you will see, these reptiles, they are mostly present in dry arid desert region, okay, where water is very less. The availability of the water is quite less over there. That means water is not frequently available to the organisms which are dwelling over there. So that means they should resist, or they should persist the water which is there already present in their body. If it get evaporated, then their body will get dehydrated. No. So these thick, spiny, rough and tough scales helps these organisms to maintain the water in their body by prohibiting the evaporation or the dehydration. Okay, so these scales basically prohibit the dehydration of the water from the body in those desert, when the reptiles that are living in the desert condition or the desert area. So this is what it is, one of the important function of the scale. So please try to keep it, remember the two functions of the scale. It keeps them safe from the predators and prohibits the dehydration of water from the body. So that's all about the reptiles. Now we are going to begin with the class aves that constitute the members of birds.